The establishment media, well, they're culpable in your misery. Feel like you're counting every penny in your bank account, watching your 401k dissolve into nothing, and making financial decisions that you didn't have to think about before, like, do I get 2-ply toilet paper or do I get eggs so maybe I can have breakfast every morning? Just because I'm on this screen doesn't mean I don't know what our government is intentionally putting us through in this country. I understand. It was just a few years ago when I interviewed a woman in Venezuela who had to make similar decisions because of the out-of-control inflation in her socialist country.
A year ago, I am not sure, but maybe, yeah, I think a year ago I was still able to buy olive oil. A year ago, I didn't have to do grocery shopping once a week, and like today, because I bought pasta, I did not buy coffee because I cannot afford to buy pasta and coffee at the same time.
Wow. And we're going through all of this while the media that plays defense for tyrants calls you a domestic terrorist for not wanting your kids to read about and look at porn in school. What a world we live in, huh? Hey everybody, thanks for joining me one more time for another edition of the best kept secret in the conservative movement, Things That Need to Be Said. For MRC-TV, I'm Nick Kangadis. Really quick, I'd love it if all of you could head on over to Rumble, subscribe to our channel, and hit that plus button. And no matter where you watch our videos, please share, like, and don't be afraid to leave a comment. I love to read what you guys have to say, and I couldn't do what I do without all of you. Now, on with the show. I was going to do this week's video on something completely different, but then I watched a YouTube clip of Joe Rogan talking about millions of people in France and Israel rising up on his podcast in the last couple of days, and it made me think, if a guy that was a Bernie Sanders supporter not too long ago can see and get visibly and audibly frustrated with the current for-sale Marxist in office, Joe Biden, as well as the media's intentional ignorance on it to push the establishment's agenda, how does everybody else turn a blind eye to it?
Millions of people on the streets, and you're not hearing a f***ing peep about it. You know, all it is like, January 6th. January 6th. Did you see what they did? January 6th. Trump is coming back, but January 6th looms large. How about the fact that the guy who's the president right now can't form a f***ing sentence?
You ever wonder why the establishment media does what it does? Is the primary purveyor of the misinformation they're telling you everyone else is guilty of spreading and lies to you to the point there's no other conclusion than that they're clearly against you and are in fact your enemy? Well, let's see. CNN's primary talking head, Anderson Cooper, was born into the establishment elite as his mother was entrepreneur Gloria Vanderbilt. Never mind that he was once an intern at the totally reputable CIA before the Yale graduate was groomed and gifted being the main mouthpiece of the politically owned franchise known as CNN. Al Sharpton? Ever wonder how the fake preacher stays out of jail despite his years of tax evasion, a crime that even Al Capone and Wesley Snipes couldn't evade? Well, Sharpton was given the opportunity to pay back his criminal tax evasion, which he did a fair amount of, with quote-unquote increased donor revenue to his National Action Network activist organization, which paid him a salary of over $1 million in 2018. No idea what he's making now. It also doesn't hurt that he routinely sings the praises of the people that have kept him out of jail on MSNBC, ironically promoting the same federal government that he profits off of by saying the system they run is racist. The Wendy's lady, Jen Psaki, well, she was Biden's coherent mouthpiece for the first 2 years of his regime being in power. She's got her own show now on MSNBC.
Do you have, when you go into your refrigerator, is there anything in there, or are you pretty much an eat out kind of guy?
How about the guy who pretended he was a Republican only to spout every DNC talking point he could for the last few years, seemingly in order to prevent Donald Trump from being legally allowed to run for president? Of course, I'm talking about good old Adam Kinzinger. Now, what's the Napoleonic Illinoisan doing after he self-righteously stepped back from being a congressman? Well, of course, he's now a contracted contributor on CNN.
Now, all of a sudden, those people have great power because they can deny the majority the vote to pass something. This is not a good day for Donald Trump. He may survive this at the moment, but it's certain that his influence is waning.
Then we have Michael Fanone. You remember Michael, right? He was the former heavily tatted Capitol Police officer who gave quite the performance in front of Congress while being questioned by the totally bipartisan January 6th committee. Yeah, he's also a contributor now for CNN.
I'm frustrated at the lack of accountability for those that were responsible for orchestrating the attack on our Capitol on January 6th. You know, we're 2 years out, and while, you know, we've cycled a lot of individuals through the criminal justice system that participated in the attack, you know, Donald Trump is still walking around a free man.
George Stephanopoulos, he's been the face of ABC News for years now. But does anyone else remember way back in the day when he was the senior advisor to then President Bill Clinton? He wrote a fair amount of the BS Clinton used to spout and even skirted the law by being able to weasel his way out of leaving the scene of an accident he caused as long as he got his license renewed, which was expired at the time of the accident.
He was charged with driving without a permit and with leaving after colliding.
You think you or I would have gotten away with that?
Was it unfair, whatever happened?
Certainly a long evening.
Long evening.
How about NBC's Chuck Todd, the weasel who once tried to shame you for not blindly participating in an experimental medical procedure?
Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. People are needlessly dying because of your misinformation. Think about it. I don't know how some of you sleep at night who are doing this for a living on television.
Well, what do you know? His wife, Christian Denny Todd, quote unquote, works as a Democratic campaign communications strategist in Washington, D.C. She also previously worked for Senator Patty Murray and former Senator Jim Webb. CNN's Jim Sciutto, who also went to Yale, go figure, began working for the Atlanta outlet immediately after being chief of staff for former U.S. Ambassador to China under Obama, Gary Locke. Even before that, he worked for ABC News when he married his wife, who also worked for ABC News.
I was at Yale. We had a professor there named Jonathan Spence, who had just written a book called The Search for Modern China, prescient about many of the historical trends that have followed since. But it also, beyond inspiring me to study China as a student, after college, I said, what I really want to do is I want to go over there and live.
Foot and mouth disease sufferer Larry O'Donnell graduated from Harvard, I guess the Ivy League were indoctrination centers even way back when, and went on to eventually become a legislative aide to former Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. According to NPR, quote, he was Democratic Chief of Staff to the U.S. Senate Committee on Finance, unquote. He also wrote and produced the projection propaganda show The West Wing for its first 2 seasons.
It is the Republican Party policy to make sure that America's mass murderers are the very best equipped mass murderers in the world.
There's plenty more examples, but I don't want to keep you here all day. You get the point. The game is rigged. Trump and other select people pulled the curtain back on them, and that's why they get nothing but negative press. They're all in on it. They, like our current president, care about the American people in the completely opposite way he cares about chocolate chip ice cream. And all the establishment media does is repeat what their career politician masters tell them to say. That's why they all sound alike when a new current thing comes over the horizon. So, will I get a visit from the Skull and Bones cult, or were these simply things that needed to be said? Let me know in the comments, where I do read most and reply to some. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on Rumble and hit that plus button. If you liked this video, don't forget to share, comment, and give it a thumbs up. Those are the best ways to help these videos reach more people, and it's the best way to let us know you want us to keep these videos coming. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so that YouTube might actually let you know when MRC-TV comes out with a new video, if they haven't censored it or taken it down yet. Like us on Facebook, check out more of our work at MRCTV.org, and if you want to support our content and the conservative movement, head on over to MRC.org/donate to help us out, since we're a non-profit and couldn't do what we do without all of you. For MRC TV, I'm Nick Kangadis.